All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing a preview and prediction for Week 8 contest in the Big 12 between rivals Utah and BYU. Rivalry game going down in Provo, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. 47.5 is the total. 3-point favorites are the Utes, getting things started with the Utah offense on the BYU defense. Obviously, coming into the year, this is a group that I pegged as being, historically great when it comes to running the football. I thought they had a chance to do that, and so far, that's what they're doing. 248 yards per game. Of course, they had a blemish against Texas Tech with their O-line. Shockingly, had a tough effort. They also schemed up Dampier's legs very well. So he was not able to get loose one bit. And that led to this offense getting stalled out for only 10 points. Now, they just bounced back against an incredible run defense of Arizona State. It was kind of expected because they were not playing with their quarterback, Sam Levitt. The starter was out. And, of course, ASU has been pretty poor to start the year despite being able to manage a couple of wins. Their run defense getting torched, though, was honestly not expected. 276 yards and 6 scores are what they allowed. I mean, Utah put on a complete clinic, getting back in the win column now, 2 in a row after the Red Raiders lost. And this rushing attack is just so incredibly tough to defend. Devon Dampier follows his offensive coordinator over to Utah, and of course, he's a great fit. 378 and 5 rushing. He has great elusiveness and speed for being 210 pounds. He's made things happen through the air as well, completing 71%, 11 touchdowns. He's been very efficient. And of course, we'll talk about that passing attack in a moment. But back to the run game, Wayshawn Parker, Aquari Rogers, these guys split touches down the middle at the running back position. 248 yards per contest for this rushing attack. I mean, they're just so good because they have so many different ways they can hurt you. Dampier, he can get to the boundary in the read option game. He can hurt you down in between the tackles running the football, as can the running backs. There's just so much misdirection that this offense can provide, and that's why they're so tough to defend because of the skill that they have and the muscle they have up front makes it just incredibly tough to be too reactionary. And if you try to time things up too well, it could certainly lead to the Utes outflanking you, and that's why they're able to stay ahead of the sticks and just pick up chunk plays like crazy. This is just an amazing rushing attack. Love watching them play. And, of course, they're going to be led by those two tackles. Caleb Blamu on the left side. The right side is going to be led by Spencer Fano, one of the best in the country at his position. The interior, Tanoa Tagai. He's been great, especially in pass protection this year. He's not giving up much at all on his quarterback. Jaron Kump at center. And then, of course, a veteran, Michael McCofsey, holding down that right guard spot. This is a great group. They're going to be going up against a BYU defense that had some issues, the past couple of weeks against the run. They've never been bad, but 3 weeks in a row they've given up 150-plus yards. They've been battle-tested. They've been resilient. Arizona's had a bit of success, about 4.8 yards per carry in that game. But this is still a very good run defense, especially if they can get back one of their star linebackers, Jack Kelly. We'll be certainly monitoring his status. On the interior, though, you have great guys, Keanu Tanavasa, John Tiamapo, Logan Latui. These guys are great, leading the charge for this Cougars front. It's a team that doesn't really generate a much pass rush, though, which, that could be all right in this game because Utah's not exactly going to sit back and try to pick you apart from the pocket a whole lot. On third down, they will. But that's why Kelly's so important, right? Because he has 4 sacks on the year, didn't play last week. The team only has 10 as a whole. Pretty much all of them have come from the linebacker position. The D-line's got 2, and the rest of them have come from elsewhere. So it's just not a team the last couple of years that's not been good at rushing the passer one bit. But the linebackers are so stout in dictating the pace against the run, and they're so physical, and they're great playmakers. Isaiah Glasker, he's probably better than Kelly. I mean, he's a heck of a pass rusher as well. Probably a better run defender, much more efficient tackler. CL Esra, he's been a standout for them. He's been playing a lot this year. He's been very sound in all regards. I mean, this is an elite linebacking group that they're going to be facing here. And you want to look at that secondary on this passing attack for Utah. Now, of course, their passing attack thrives really based on the run, not just because of play action, but their ability to kind of flip it behind your head. They don't have to throw the ball usually a whole lot. I mean, Dampier does have a handful of games like Wyoming attack where he threw it 38 plus times. But they don't have to do that. This is a team that should stick around that 25 or less passing attempts per game, and they only throw it when they need to. They keep the defense honest, utilize their strengths, which is the run game, to get defenders to creep up towards the line of scrimmage and just kind of flick it out to guys like Ryan Davis, who have 39 receptions this year for about 10 yards per catch because he's a possession receiver. They're not looking for the big play. Dalen Bentley had a big reception against Texas Tech, but he's also a possession guy. 24 grabs for 270, 3 touchdowns. Tobias Merriweather can be found around the sticks. J.J. Buchanan, a tight end that's gotten a couple of touchdown receptions this year. Smith Snowden, the cornerback's been getting involved in offense a little bit. I mean, there's not too much of a desire for big plays in this pass game, and they don't look for them either because they don't really need them in the BYU secondary. They're going to have big opportunities when it comes to potentially making plays in the box. Evan Johnson, Terry and Alexander, the starting corners. These guys have been pretty good in coverage this year. I think Alexander's a pretty respected run defender as well. At safety, Tanner Wall is probably going to be your best guy overall. He's been inconsistent this year against the run, though. And then in the slot, you have Tavion Beasley and Tommy Process. These guys have been splitting snaps at that spot. Beasley, been a pretty efficient tackler. But none of these guys really scream elite run defender, right? You're going to need to get these DBs up towards the line of scrimmage. I definitely think they can play in the back, though, because these linebackers are so capable of making things happen. They're going to probably have three of those guys if Kelly plays on the field at all times. That's going to lead to a lot of zone coverage. And I think it's also going to lead to opportunities for blitzes downhill, not just against the run, but against the pass as well, to try and force Dampier out of the pocket. And he's dangerous out of the pocket, don't get me wrong. But I think BYU probably likes their chances in this one. I don't think they have much of a pass rush, though. These linebackers will dictate everything. But the lack of playmakers against the run of the secondary, I don't think is that big of a concern for BYU. But this is going to be a great matchup. Definitely going to be a big tail of the tape to see how good Utah truly is after that terrible loss against Texas Tech. Moving to the other side of things, you're going to look at that BYU offense on the Utah defense. 37.5 points per game. Bear Bachmer, true freshman quarterback, forced into action, with a Retzloff situation. He's played pretty well, a couple of games in a row now. He had a stretch of 3 in a row where he had 70% completion percentage, but he was awful against Arizona, only completed 41%, had 2 interceptions. I could just not generate much in the pass game. And he does have 2 good receivers, though. Chase Roberts, Parker Kingston are some versatile players. These guys are, good in the middle of the field. Some nice size, at least from Roberts at 6'4", 210. They're good playmakers. They both have strong hands. Kingston, he can get involved on special teams to make some things happen. He's a bit of a do-it-all player. He's got a rushing touchdown this year, 2 more through the air. Carson Ryan at tight end is a very respectable player. That's pretty much it, though. There are only going to be those 3 guys catching footballs. And for Utah defense that against Utah really struggled, or against Texas Tech, that is, they struggled in that second half, right, to cover. This secondary was the biggest question mark coming into this year for me. Blake Cotton, Elijah Davis, some new starters, Smith Snowden. I mean, these guys have not exactly been great in coverage. I don't know if BYU is going to be the team that can really expose that. I definitely think they're going to look to work that quick, the intermediate pass game, though. Jackson Beanie has been exceptional out of the slot. He's been a terrific playmaker for him. And then at safety, Teo Johnson, the leading the charge. This guy's a pretty darn good player. His counterpart, Nate Ritchie, on the other hand, is not very good. And I think there's some ability for BYU to potentially take shots downfield against this susceptible secondary. For BYU, the identity, I think, for them is to run the football. LJ Martin, a nice physical back, 652 yards and 4 scores on the year, averaging well over 100 yards per game. Bear Bachmer has 7 touchdowns as well. His legs were a big focal point against Arizona, and they have been really the last couple of weeks where they've kind of found this great element that was kind of seemingly hidden in their offense. They've kind of exposed all of a sudden. Was good against Colorado running the ball. They're also playing from behind in that game. And then against here, Arizona, both road games, they just kept doing QB draw, QB power late in that game, and it was working. He had 89 yards and 2 scores in that one. That's pretty much the entire game plan near the goal line there in that second half, and it worked. 220-pounder. Bogmer has a lot of size. Him and Martin are going to bring a lot of physicality to the table. Martin's also 220. This is a Utah run defense that is probably the strongest part of this unit. Jonah Leah, John Henry Daly, the former BYU Cougar, has been an elite player this year, coming off the edge. It'll be interesting to see how he wants to be in this game in terms of being amped up, going on the road. 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks this year. I mean, he's just been a complete stat sheet stuffer for Utah. The linebackers are also incredibly stout for the Utes, much like the Cougars. Jonathan Hall has been their best player, I think, overall. Lander Barton has consistently been great in his career, especially against the run. Leivani Dumani, he's been very consistent as well. So, I mean, this is a strong trio. They're not going to look to have as many 3 linebacker sets. They're going to be looking to have more nickel defenses than BYU will have, I think, in this game. But Utah, I think they have a better capability of slowing down this rushing attack. And again, against Texas Tech, they're starting to get grinded down on in that fourth quarter. They ended up giving up 173 in that game. The run defense was not all that ideal. The running backs really made a lot of big plays against them. West Virginia ended the game with 261 rushing yards. They had a lot of big plays really in that second half as well. I don't think the game's really a blemish on their record at all. Kind of a one-off against some second stringers, and they just held, Arizona State in check for a good amount, only 135. That's a pretty good rushing attack for them. So I think this is a legit run defense. think they're going to do well in this game. They don't have a lot of athletic ability. That being BYU, it's really going to be hard for them to suck these linebackers up closer to the line of scrimmage. And if they do that, I don't know if they have the capability to really bounce things outside. Um, they're really going to have to make plays between the tackles when it comes to this run game. I think they certainly have the capability, right, of establishing a physical ground and pound, and that can happen against anybody, right? Isaiah Jadd at left tackle has been great, leading the charge. On the right side, Andrew Gentry's been really solid, so they have nice tackles. Bruce Mitchell at center has been an impressive player. The guards have been a little weaker than you would hope for, but hasn't been a bad unit altogether. I think this is a pretty good group in terms of Utah's pass rush outside of Henry Daly. Not a whole lot. Logan Fano is respectable, though, coming off the other side. That's pretty much it, really, for the pass rush. I mean, they have a handful of different bodies they'll throw out there, but this is going to be a very interesting game. Moving to the final thoughts and the prediction. I think both these teams are very similar, right? They're both going to look to run the football. If they can't run the football, it's going to be hard for them to make plays in the pass game. So you're going to be looking at who's going to be the strongest front seven, who's going to force the more negative plays. And I think collectively that's just going to be Utah. And I think that their rushing attack has more versatility than the Cougars do. And I think at some point they're going to be really forcing those guys to creep up towards the line of scrimmage. And I think for Utah, that's going to allow them to have more effectiveness. I think Dampier is going to be able to make some plays towards the boundary of his legs. And I think his passing game will be a little bit stronger than BYU's as well. But going on the road to Provo is incredibly tough. The home team always has such a big advantage in this rivalry. I think the under 47.5 is probably the best bet. I'm going to take Utah to win the game and cover slightly. I think they should win this game. I know BYU is really good. Defense is tremendous. Figuring things out on offense a little bit. But there's too many times this year they've just started slow, right? That happened both road games already this year against CU and Arizona. Coming back home obviously makes things a little bit easier, but this is a much tougher opponent, the toughest one they've seen all year. I think this is going to be a hard-hitting physical contest. Emotions are going to be running high, but I think at the end of the day, Utah, they have the better offense, and I think altogether they have the better defensive line as well that's going to be able to come up with some bigger plays to put them in some unfavorable positions the BYU will not be able to capitalize on. So this one's going to go either way, though, but I think Utah, they're the better team. They're going to get the job done, and that's going to be the result in Provo going down Saturday night. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.